Hey, scientists, and today we are going to explore matter's physical properties and we'll compare and contrast them. And we'll do this through an investigation through using the different properties of matter. Before we get into that, let's look at our essential questions for today's lesson, and then we'll get into the explanation for what you guys are going to do today and tomorrow. Now, let's talk about our essential question. Remember, essential questions in science and in different lessons can help us think about what we already know about a topic, and it helps us connect to new ideas that we're going to learn today to help us produce a new thought about the topic. Our essential questions will be focused on our different science topics. So look for keywords. In those keywords, the minute you see them and recognize them, I want you to think, what do I already know about this topic? Once you have that in your mind, you want to look at the question again to see what we're trying to answer today or what are we trying to answer about that topic. It's important to remember that an essential question is like a goal as well. By the end of our science lesson, you should confidently be able to answer the essential question. Let's go over our essential question for today. Let's look at our essential questions for today. The two essential questions that we are going to focus on in this specific lesson and through our investigation in the next 2 days are as followed. Listen first. How can the physical properties of matter be measured? Say that one with me. How can the physical properties of matter be measured? The next one that we will be looking for, scientists, is how can we compare and contrast matter? Read that one with me. How can we compare and contrast matter? So that's specifically talking about the 3 states of matter. How are we able to compare and contrast them or talk about their differences and similarities? And we're also going to be talking about those physical properties again. We'll go over examples of physical properties before we get started in our individual investigations today. Classifying matter. You'll be exploring different items. Let's take a look at some of the items that we'll be exploring today are a water bottle, a sticky note, a stapler, a tape dispenser, a soda can, and a D battery. Remember, you're looking at those specific items. So for the water bottle, you're looking at the water bottle as a whole. You're not looking at just the water inside. Same goes for the soda can. You're actually looking at the soda can, not the soda inside. Pay attention to these in detail when it's your turn to go up to the items. You want to make sure that you make accurate observations and not just take your group members' words for it. You want to see for yourself the different items and how they classify for volume, magnetism, and if they'll sink or float. Classifying these informations in your journal, you will also record the following physical properties of each item. Remember, a physical property is something that describes the item or helps us to classify it a little bit more. The different categories we are going to look at are states of matter. Now, we've reviewed the 3 states of matter before as a class. Pause the video and talk about what are the 3 states of matter. Write them out on the board. Did you talk about the 3 states of matter being solid, liquid, and gas? These are the 3 states of matter that we will be focusing on while exploring our different items today. You will pick one of these states of matter to represent each item. Remember, when we were talking about our items, we paid specific attention to the names of them. For things like the soda can, you're paying attention to the actual soda can itself, not the soda inside of it. You'll also be looking for how much each item weighs or the mass of each item. You'll be measuring this in grams. Your teacher will practice measuring and showing you how to use the scale when you guys measure the water bottle together. It can be sometimes tricky to measure the scale, and you need to be patient as it balances out. As a group, add on weights slowly so you're able to get an accurate measurement of an item. And for some of the items, you will not be able to measure the volume because in this case, it will ruin the item. For example, the sticky notes. You will not be measuring the volume of the sticky notes because it would ruin the sticky notes. However, when you're measuring for the volume of the other objects, STEMscopes is going to explain for us now how we're going to use a graduated cylinder and water to help us figure out the volume of our individual objects. To help us determine the volume of each object, we are going to need to pour 100 milliliters of water into a graduated cylinder. We're going to add the objects that will not get ruined into the graduated cylinder. We're going to make note of how much the water rises in the graduated cylinder. If we started out at 100 milliliters and we add one of the items in and the water goes up to 110 milliliters, that means the volume of our item is just 10 milliliters. It went up 10 milliliters, which gives us the difference. It also tells us how much our item is. After you take the items back out of the water, it's crucial that you check to make sure your graduated cylinder is still at 100 milliliters before you add another item in. Also, make sure to take notes about your observation on the previous item you measured. You don't want to lose track of any of the information you have collected. Now, today, scientists, you'll be talking about the different properties and how they are used to describe items. Tomorrow, you are going to use water specifically to help you describe more about the three states of matter. Come back and finish this video tomorrow to get some instruction on what to do. About the different properties and filling out your chart. If you have not finished collecting information or making your observations, that is first on your to-do list today. Make sure you have also answered the questions below and explain your reasoning. As we continue on with classifying matter, you guys are going to explore today the difference between water, ice, and water vapor. Water vapor is a tricky one to explore, so you'll need your teacher's help because it is going to get hot on that station. We are going to use some hot steam to help us measure the water vapor. You guys will get time in your groups from yesterday to measure the temperatures of water and ice. While you are doing that, make sure to follow the instructions carefully so you understand how to get the proper measurements for their temperature and their volume. Now, remember, as we recorded the volume yesterday, you're going to do similar today while you record the volume. It's going to be simple to record the volume of the water. Just measure where the line goes up to. Be careful when you add the ice cubes to measure the volume and not leave it for too long before the ice melts. The volume can change based on when you measure it, as over time we know that ice melts into our drink and that would raise the amount of water that's in our cup. We want the original measurement. As you continue to explore, scientists, remember what it would be like if we couldn't describe these things. It's so much better that we have the opportunity and ability to create our own observations, draw our own conclusions, and share those conclusions with our classmates and other peers. As you're doing your observations, make sure you take your time, take good notes, and if you can't see anything, especially when your teacher is presenting, raise your hand to share that you might need to move or get closer to see an object, as you don't want to miss anything. Sometimes in science, something only happens once and in every few hundred years, so you want to keep an eye out to make sure you get the glimpse of that. Just remember, scientists, that as you're exploring matter, it matters. All science does. Have fun today, and I'll talk to you guys soon.